Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is SUBCHVRGE. Today I'm going to be breaking down a few tracks, well, rather, a few stems from my track Imagine. This track is out now. It's a SoundCloud exclusive. I'll leave the link down in the description below if you'd like to check it out. Download it for free. Any of that. But yeah, what I wanted to do with this track is create a melodic dubstep track that emulated my favorite style of dubstep from the early 2010s. A bunch of like Adventure Club-esque styles of music. Things like Collect Call, Crave You, and their To a Friend remix. But yeah, I had a lot of fun writing this track, and unfortunately I couldn't grab the entire project file. I mentioned this uh, a few videos ago on the channel, but a bunch of the project files from my laptop got corrupted, but I did manage to save some of the stems from those projects. So today we're going to go through this track right here, go through some of the stems, and I'll talk to you about my writing process and how I kind of came up with the ideas that I used in the song. So let's see what we got here. So this part right here, it's I think a few sorts of splice loops, maybe some bells and some, kind of texture-y atmospheres. And then at the 8-bar loop right here, it starts to go into the main section. In the intro, they're reversed, and they're kind of just, some reverse, but once it gets over here, yes, there's some textures back there, some a main bell loop, and yeah, the intro is pretty self-explanatory. It's just a few loops, and once you get to the main section right here, there's some other elements that kick in, which we can talk about right now. There's some choir elements down here. And these choirs are just choirs from Omnisphere. I believe there are maybe like 4 or 5 notes being played right here. There's also some sine plucks right here in this arpeggio section. This kind of repeats throughout the entire song, along with some guitars and whatnot. But yeah, for the intro at bar 9 right here, it's just some regular sine plucks. Lots of reverb and delay on them, which is really useful for intros. And then we also have a drum loop up here. I believe this is just a loop from The Count. The Count has some great samples on Splice. But yeah, all together they sound like this. And that's pretty much all there is, except for some, kind of white noise effects. Some chimes and like white noise downshifters. Yeah, I'm sure that's the word. And then we have some risers up into the main section of the song, where there's quite a bit happening right here. Again, keeping with the effects section. Some impacts, some white noise, and then some risers that kind of, go all the way over here, and then kind of like branch off, and then go into the build and stuff like that. But, effects aside, there's a bunch of other really cool stuff going on. We have the introduction of the basses section. And there's quite a few things in that section alone. There's a sub layer, which is really nice and thick. There's some lower end saws that are kind of like pumping the sound. And to make really, sort of melodic anthemic style dubstep, you really want those kind of just like pumping effects that that are like used in like really heavy sidechained tracks. Things like trance music use it a lot. But yeah, for me, since we're working at 150 BPM, I wanted to make them kind of just like, you know, eighth notes, like dun 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 dun. There's a few synth layers happening here. There's a higher end one, and then some like kind of lower end saws that are really carrying the full spectrum of sound in addition to the sub. But yeah, that's literally all of the basses section right there, and then the lead, which is probably the most notable and loud part of this song. I can't remember if that's a square or a saw. I think it's a square wave that I used as a lead and sort of pitched around and made a few. I wrote the MIDI for that, and I kind of used it a lot throughout this section right here and the drop. So yeah, that kind of just really anthemic lead has a lot of reverb and delay. I think some chorus on it as well to give it a little bit of stereo width. But yeah, it's really fattened up. I think I used a fat rack for it as well. And then yeah, this, you know, kind of bell loop is still persisting down here. And coupled with the ARP, that adds a really nice kind of mid to high layer right there. And then, you know, you have your vocals still coming in right here. And that's basically the entire outro too. Yeah, not to get ahead of ourselves, but yeah, that's basically the outro as well. Like I said, though, the basses and the lead portion of this really kind of just like drive this 17 bar section right here home. Everything together. And then coming up to bar 25 here, we have a few changes. We kind of lay off on the basses section, and then kind of just gradually, you know, kind of volume automate everything in so that when it drops. I guess I left some drums in there. That's pretty cool. But yeah, when everything drops, it kind of just, you know, comes back full force with the sub and everything. And then, like I said, the lead is pretty much the only thing that's like really hitting hard. So if I take the lead off on this 25 bar section right here, you only have a little bit of the background drums up here coming in, and pretty much everything else is kind of just, you know, really subtle, really slowly fading in to get ready for that drop after 8 bars. So, I mean, you know, we have some drums being faded in as well. Starting off with a clap and a background snare, and eventually a nice kick is brought in. And some really heavy snares. What I did for this these drum buildups is I kind of filtered them down a bit, so I took away a bit of the high end of the drums. So I'm basically just making room for, like, you know, things like the lead down here and the basses section. And I'm basically just making room for, like, you know, a bunch of the higher end elements that are coming in. So right here, you'll notice that the drums right here are a little bit less, or a little bit higher pitch, or higher end. There's a lot more high end content in the drums right here than right here. So, like, yeah, you can tell a lot of the harshness of this is taken out right here. But yeah, that's I do that trick a lot sometimes, where I'll mess with the volume, bring the volume down right before the song drops, maybe like 4 decibels, sometimes even just on the master chain. Doesn't matter, but yeah, I'll kind of bring certain elements of the song down 3 to 4 decibels to just make the the drop hit harder. But yeah, it's a really case by case basis. You don't have to do it on the master a lot of times. I'll just do it on like certain elements of the song, or I'll just like filter certain elements of the song to ensure that the drop is hitting as hard as possible. And it's really, like I said, a case by case basis. But yeah, the 25 section right here, the build up. Like I said, not too much happening right here until you get to this part right here, halfway through. And then yeah, the drop. So we have this little pause right here, right beforehand. And then we get into the main section right here with the drop. The lead is pretty much the same melody, but I have an AU5 guitar melody back here. So I pitched it down 1 semitone because it was in F, and I wanted to put it in E because that's the key of the song. And then the original guitar sample was at like a 120 something, I think 128. Yeah, but I adjusted the tempo to 150 because that's the BPM we're writing in, and yeah, it just fit really well right there as kind of like a background melody. And the difference between this section right here and this section right here is, well, 2 main things. 1, that guitar melody, and 2, I put an extra layer of, I believe, a super saw or something right here. Yeah, you can tell there's like another layer of like super saws or squares or something. I don't recall exactly, but I think it's super saws. But it basically just acts as a separate layer to kind of ensure that the drop is differentiated from, the intro or the build. And you can hear that guitar melody right here being slowly filtered in as well. And then right here, I just let it fly for the drop. What's interesting is that, in these kinds of melodic dubstep projects or tracks, a lot of the melodic elements are pretty much the same from like some of the early intros. Like, I didn't have to do much for that. I just laid it on again right here in the middle of the drop. But yeah, when that is coupled with this, and then you play it in the drop, it's pretty much the same thing. I only have, I think, 1 added element of like a nylon guitar from Omnisphere for this ARP section right here. But that's pretty much the only thing that I changed from the actual intro with these 2 melodic and ARP-centric tracks in the project, or groups, I guess. But that's pretty much the only thing I ended up changing from the intro to the drop section in these particular parts. It's really all about, different core elements that you hear with like the lead, where I added another super saw. So instead of that, we have this. It hits a lot harder. There's a few more elements in the drop to make it, to make the drop more apparent. And yeah, when coupled with the bass section, again, I accidentally left that hi-hat in the bass section. My workflow is all sorts of insane. But anyways, we can head into a few of the drum hits right here. So I have some cymbals on the effects section. Yeah, which is really cool because on the actual drum group, I only had the kick and the snare because I sidechain pretty much everything to the kick and the snare. But a cool trick that I wanted to share is something that happens with the kick right here. So if I were to just play this kick as it is, you know, I mean it's a super thick kick. Like, don't get me wrong, but the cool stuff, cool ideas. Whoops. Let me see if I can backtrack here. Boo boo boo. Okay, there we are. The cool ideas come from things like this, where you put that, you reverse it, and then you take away a lot of the transient right there. So just having this right here kind of swoop into the kick hits a lot harder. So without this swoop and with the swoop, this is a cool little trick that you can use for like a bunch of different EDM or, you know, different kinds of dubstep centric tracks. It just makes your drums hit a little bit harder, and I find that it's really cool to use in like rhythm or dubstep or just stuff where you really want your drums to hit, hybrid trap maybe. But yeah, really cool little trick. But yeah, man, like I said, not too much change from here to here, just those anthemic leads being plastered underneath the original 17 bar what is it, like, yeah, square wave lead. And then for the B section of the drop, we have this little sub drop down here. Always really fun to do. If you haven't seen my sub drop tutorial, I teach you how to make this sound in Serum. Yeah, go feel free to check out that video. Should be a few videos behind this one. Really fun to make. Yeah, but I mean, this whole drop section right here is just me messing around with a few different sorts of it's just me messing around with different MIDI patterns in Ableton, kind of just developing grooves and working to see what sort of chord structures and elements work well together with the bell sections and the ARP sections that I had down here. Yeah, really fun. And so for the last thing I wanted to cover was the second drop is fairly similar to the first one. I just, you know, employed a few different kind of melodic elements and made a different lead pattern and a few different other things. But for the most part, most of these sections are the same. But one thing I did want to cover really quickly, kind of after the drop brings everything down, we have the drum loop right here. Coming back in, really cool. But I wanted to cover this one thing right here. I brought in a different synth for the second, I guess, sequence, or the second half of this song. I use the Anjuna synth from Lethal. I've talked about Lethal before on the channel. It's an incredible plugin that you can pick up. But yeah, I really love this Anjuna synth. I really love it. It just works so well. I love just the, you know, the reverb and how thick it is, and I can't speak highly enough of that that preset right there. But yeah, I use that for this this section. So whereas the intro section right here was just that square lead, this Anjuna synth is a little bit more super sawy and a little bit more robust in my opinion. And I also used a, I think there's a backing bell right there as well. Yeah, so, and then I used that for the drop as well. In addition to, you know, the sign, or the bells and the super saws and squares and plucks and all that good stuff. And then for the outro, it's just more of the same. And then it goes off into the sine plucks right here. Lots of delay and reverb on those, and just really, really fun to make. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for checking it out. Like I said, I'll leave the link to Imagine in the description below. It's a SoundCloud exclusive, so if you want to go check it out, feel free to go listen, download, show your mom, show your dog. If you show your dog, maybe not too loud. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Lots more of these types of videos on the way here soon. And yeah, hopefully you learned something. I am going to go work on more music. Alright, I will talk to you guys soon. Peace!